So it's just after 11 o'clock, and I do want to give our speaker as much of the hour as he needs to make his presentation. It's my incredible honor today to introduce today's speaker for the Hyatt Leadership Lecture. This speaker series brings a distinguished leader to campus each fall and spring, and that's certainly the case today, who can share wisdom and insight to the school students and faculty and staff and the wider Georgia Tech community. It's made possible by the generous support from Ken Hyatt. He was a 1962 graduate of civil engineering and also got his master's in industrial management in 1966 from here at Georgia Tech. So we really appreciate his long-term commitment and support for this event. Today's speaker is Jose Manuel Bern. He is a 1995 graduate of our civil engineering program. He currently is the corporate vice president for Empresas Bern, which is located in Panama City, Panama. And he leads the sales and development division for that company. Over the past 45 years, Empresas Bern has helped to transform the skyline of Panama City. I was able to go there myself this spring in March, and was really blown away by the beauty of Panama and the amazing city that Panama City has become. Their company has built dozens of high-impact development and construction projects. The projects span from corporate, retail, hospitality, and residential uses. If you're familiar with Panama City, Jose has particularly focused in recent years on developing the Costa del Este suburban area of Panama City. Jose has 3 children with his lovely wife, Katrina, and his son, Herman, is here. I think Herman moved. Oh, he's right here in front. So his son, Herman, is here to join us today. So we're really glad to see you and welcome. Jose's pleasures outside of work include antique automobiles, motorcycles, and long-distance running. He previously served on the Civil and Environmental Engineering Advisory Board from 2012 to 2018, and he currently serves on the College of Engineering Advisory Board for Dean Bea, and I think he has a few more years left on his term. Through these responsibilities, Jose has given very generously of his time and resources to Georgia Tech, and I feel very fortunate to have formed a friendship with Jose through these engagements. So with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to him. He's going to be speaking about psychology and engineering, and I'm really looking forward to his presentation. So thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Can everybody hear me fine? I am delighted to be here. It is my honor, my privilege. I feel like I've peaked professionally by being in front of you guys and talking a little bit this morning about what I think are some of the keys to your leadership skills as you will require them as you go along in your careers. My experiences are my own, and I would love to share them with you this morning. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my personal stories. And I'm going to leave plenty of time for questions. And please, I would really prefer as much interaction as we possibly can. Now, like Donald said, I'm a civil engineer by trade. However, as you will encounter in your own careers, the paths that are shown to you as you move along your career will take you different places. In my experience serving in the board of the civil engineering school, I have found that my peers in that board, also mostly civil engineers, do incredibly different things nowadays. Civil engineering, yes, it's the basis, it's the foundation for this tower of knowledge, this logical and rational way of thinking that we as engineers learn by trade, but we develop other skills that bridge us across to other areas. And that's part of the schemes I want to work on today. You know, I understand that if you're here, you made it here. You're in Georgia Tech. It's one of the best schools in the country, I would say in the world. I am very grateful to the state of Georgia for providing an education for me back in '95 when I graduated. I had no idea where that was going to take. Now, going back a little bit, my personal story, I applied to tech, and only to tech, which back then was probably a bad strategy. I probably should apply to more than one school. I was lucky that I got admitted. I started in the winter quarter. Back then it was quarter system. And I had a little bit of time between graduation from high school in Panama and actually starting college. And my mom insisted on me doing something with my spare time. And she enrolled me in 2 courses back home in Panama. One of them was accounting, which I found, well, was quite useful, and it has become quite useful throughout the years. And the other was enrolling in this course based on the book of Dale Carnegie, How to Make Friends and Influence People. I thought it was a total waste of time. Totally. But then I got in on, like I said, on winter quarter. People had already gone through fall rush, made their own friends. I show up like an alien, at the end at the beginning of the winter quarter. And my roommate didn't really like the idea that he got a new roommate. He was alone for some time and he was really making life difficult. But hey, lo and behold, Dale Carnegie and his book helped me out to make new friends and get a ride here and there. During that first quarter, I realized that having no wheels, no car in Georgia Tech was kind of difficult on the dating scene, especially. And back then, it wasn't exactly 50-50. There were way more guys than girls. And, it was very competitive. So I went up to my dad and said, Dad, I think it would really be useful if I could get a set of wheels, buy me a car, and get around, dates, going to Buckhead on MARTA. It's just very competitive. It's not going to work. Just, we spent a lot of time and money and effort educating your behind. And I really don't like the idea of you driving around drunk driving. The number one cause of our car accidents are the number one cause of deaths for people under 21. You will never have a car as long as you're in the States studying. I'm like, dang, that's rough. And anyways, I was hanging around with my Puerto Rican friends and some other Latin American friends, and I had to take some electives. And the guys recommended I take Spanish as an elective. If you didn't catch it, I'm from Panama, Spanish, local language. It was Spanish literature, which wasn't as bad. But I thought, okay, this really is not going to be very productive taking Spanish. And the only class that really fit into my idea of a perfect schedule, late morning class, nothing early in the morning, was psychology. I'm like, well, I got to fill up this requirement with something. I'll just take psychology, screw it. And I took psychology 1, and I really liked it. It gives you a different perspective on how another system works. It's a human system. And I took psychology 2. I went back home for the summer in Panama, and I worked in the construction industry like I usually did. And at the end of the summer, I tell my mom, I've saved up enough money to buy me a motorcycle. Not enough for a helmet, but helmets are optional in Georgia, so no biggie. My mom goes, okay. So I leave for Tech, and I get a call about a week later from my mom. It says, son, I'm going to put your dad on the line. Well, I've been talking it over with your mom, and we think you should get a car. I'm like, yes, psychology paid off. And it paid off in many ways. For example, I'm a very shy person. I don't like public speaking, but I have to do it. Why? Because I have to face my fears. I have to make my point come across. And for the love of me, if you ask me today, as a civil engineer, to design a simply supported beam to save my own life, I will have to look it up in a book. And fortunately for me, this morning I was in Dr. Sim's class, and he actually showed me how to design a simply supported beam again. So thank you, Danny, for that refresh on that. But us as engineers, and I see this in the boards that I participated, the peers, these boards, my fellow engineers, we tend to rise to management and beyond. You end up managing a system of teams of teams. Now, how do you become effective at handling people? I know all of you guys can do the numbers and run the quantitative stuff. That's why you're here. You're good at math. Yes, we get that. But nowadays, I use more of my people skills every day than my math skills. We do peek at differential equations, and we end up using Excel most of the time, okay? But obviously, the knowledge that you have, that quantitative knowledge, logical part of learning. It's like a tower. Okay? You're building right now your tower of knowledge with all these elements that give you a solid foundation to expand from that tower into a bridge. No? We go on to bridge beyond this tower of technical knowledge into other areas that include social skills, which we kind of take for granted up to a point. We are very intuitive animals. People learn, since you're a baby, you learn that if you start crying, somebody's going to come pick you up and maybe change your diaper or give you food. So that's kind of the basics then. And as you go along in life, you do pick up certain social cues. And obviously, you can learn it intuitively, just by experience, or you can dedicate some extra time and say, I'm going to take that Dale Carnegie course about how to make friends and influence people. Did you guys know that in the prison system of the United States, in their libraries, the most checked out book is Dale Carnegie's How to Make Friends and Influence People? Well, yes, if you're in jail, it probably helps to make friends. But don't look at it from the criminal side, obviously. It does have something to show you. You need to influence people. In any line of work, as you progress along, you will have to get ideas across and convince people to come over to your side. And using a little bit of a metaphor, you guys are like the Mandalorians, okay? Just this is the way. The solution is this, and you present it, and you have to take it, or otherwise I'll shoot you. You can get that only so far. You have to be a little bit more Jedi. Hey, I'm going to have to be diplomatic. Yes, you are totally wrong in your assumptions, but I'm going to have to slowly and gently get you over to my side. Because even though you may have the technical knowledge, and yes, engineers, we do know our stuff, but sometimes we have to interface with these other English major types, somewhere out there that are different. And that bridge across to the other way is going to take you to a different island. And then from that on, you build another bridge and you continue to grow. I highly recommend psychology. Psychology 1 and psychology 2. It didn't just get me a car. It got me to many other places as well. And then when I finished my degree here at Tech, I wanted to do an MBA. I was 21 at the time when I finished Georgia Tech. And it was hard to get into an MBA at 21. I had no job experience to speak of. But I had a shot. The people from Georgetown were coming into town and had the opportunity to do a one-on-one interview. And I think that interview made the difference, and I got into my MBA at Georgetown. Basically, I talked the woman into getting me into school. No job experience, no whatsoever. Well, that whole Dale Carnegie thing, psychology 1, psychology 2, it got me where I wanted to go. And that's kind of your drive. And these are some of the tools that you will find with psychology that help you not just understand other people, but understand yourself. Understand your spouse, your partner, what does it take to get people to go? What makes you click? And like I said, a lot of these are intuitive things. You will learn them along the way just the same. It's just that if you take advantage of structured courses, it will really make a difference. I mean, I worked in sales, real estate development and whatnot. My job is to convince people that I'm going to build a 40-story building and that you're going to enjoy having a nice glass of Pinot Noir, in the evening as you look out on a building that's not there. I sell fairy tales, basically, okay? But I have to do it in a convincing way that people say, hey, I'm going to buy that for $1, okay? I think he's got it together. Nobody's going to buy anything from a guy that says, I don't know, we have these engineering issues, this, that, or the other. No, they're not interested in that. Did you guys know that if you want to sell a house, yellow houses are the ones that sell the most? Red houses sell the least. Why? I don't know why. It's so psychological. If you want to sell a house or an apartment, and as you're showing it, do you know what's the best smell to have in that apartment or house?
Champagne.
Okay. Champagne would have been a second or third, sure. Freshly baked bread. That smell is very tied to your memory and to a pleasant memory. Smell is, of all the senses, the one that's tied the most to memory. Okay. Number of years back, I was looking at a property project in Costa Rica, and as we were driving along the property, the lady that was showing it to us stopped the little golf cart and says, "Close your eyes." And said, "You smell that?" Am I smelling it? Yes, I smell it. What is it? It's jasmine. And I've never forgotten that. She just stopped me in my tracks and said, "Smell that. Jasmine." You know, that's the kind of thing that really leaves a mark on people. And that's what I'm trying to do today. Now, like I said, I work in sales. I have to do things that I would have never dreamed of doing when I was sitting, across a lecture hall like you guys are. I work with teams. I work with a sales team in particular. And I have to make sure that they get the job done. And I have, there's several ways to do it. You can do the carrot or the stick, rewards or punishments. Rewards and carrots tend to do a lot better. And as such, for example, when I ask somebody to do something, I must be willing to do it myself. Now, we're going to do a little exercise now, and just please bear with me. I need everybody to raise their right hand. High as you can. Now, wiggle it to the left, your left, my right, left, right. Now, do a fist. Do the same, left, right. Now, put your hand in the other hand in your waist. Left, right, left, right. Okay, if you guys are good, I'll show you another of the dance steps that we're practicing. We're having a party for I'm turning 50 this year. It's kind of a big deal for me. I'm having a party with my sales group, and we're doing a flash mob dance thing. And the theme of the party is Barbie. And one of the persons in my sales group says, she's a dance instructor as well. Says, "Why don't we do a flash mob?" I'm like, "Really? I'm not really good at dancing." He said, "No big deal. Just raise your hand like this, go like that, like this, like that." And I make a total fool of myself, okay? But I have everybody in my office involved in this. And you have no idea how it improves the work ambience. Everybody can do it. Just go like this, left, right. It's no big deal, but it really ties up the team. And I need the team together. Why? Because we're coming up to the end of the year and people slack off. November and December are rough on the real estate sales. People are thinking about Christmas. We're selling Christmas trees already in Panama. Plastic Christmas trees, never mind. We don't have natural Christmas trees there. But these are the things that you need to do to run a team. You need to do a Barbie dance sometime. And those are things that are not taught in school necessarily, but if you go into psychology, it tells you what drives people where. How do I make my team members excel? How do I choose them? For example, you have high-performing people and you have trustworthy people. What do you prefer? A very high-performing individual in your team who's not very trustworthy, may or may not show up. Or a guy that's a medium performer, but hey, guy's solid, super trustworthy. That's what the Navy SEALs choose. They don't choose a super high-performing guy who can shoot a guy from 5 miles away. They want the guy that's going to be where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be. Super trustworthy. Now, how do you measure trustworthiness in a person? It's not their GPA. I mean, after I graduated, nobody has ever asked me what my GPA was. Honest to God. It was average. But how do you judge? How do you make a judgment call on people? You need to be able to analyze people, and you don't do that by looking at a piece of paper or looking even in a two-dimensional screen. You need to sit down and look them in the eye and try to figure out, are they the ones that are going to help me and my team go forward? Anybody here play poker? Any poker players? Oh, no shame in it. Raise your hand up high. Good. A friend of mine told me this story. You sit down at a poker table and you look around the table and you cannot identify the dummy. That's on your table. You gotta move over to another table, okay? And the whole thing with, for example, microfacial expressions. I learned about that, during psychology, and saying, what do people tell you when they're not saying anything? How do you make a judgment call on a negotiation? I mean, is this guy bluffing or does he have the goods? Can I push him a little bit more or should I hold back? What strategy should I use to get my project approved? For example, one of the issues we have in Panama right now is water management. No, we're running out of water because it's not been raining enough in the canal basin. Obviously, global warming is a thing, and it's happening, and it's changing our weather patterns. Dr. Georgia Carlos here is going to help us along forecasting that. We have the solution. We've had it for 20 years. The U.S. Corps of Engineers recommended we should just flood Rio Indio. And yeah, engineering-wise, that's the perfect solution. Politically, it's an issue because you're going to flood a bunch of people's homes and their farmlands. So even though engineering-wise, we know what to do, the implementation is not so simple. We have to negotiate our way around it. No? Panama just opened up about 4 years ago a copper mine, the first one ever in Panama. Copper mining is not really very green, popular with the green faction of thinking, which is everybody in this room, including myself. But it's definitely a huge, huge business. And it could help drive more development in Panama. Panama has the second largest proven copper deposits in the world. They are in Cerro Colorado. Cerro Colorado also has the native Panamanian ancestral lands sitting right on top of it. It's a situation exactly like Avatar. Okay. We have the sacred tree with a bunch of valuable minerals under it. We could pay off our foreign debt 10 times over and start lending money to the US and the rest of the world. But engineering-wise, we know what to do. Just have to rip up the tree and off we go. Yeah, politically, it's not going to be so simple. We can't just sweep people under the rug. No, you're going to have to negotiate. Somebody has to do it. Who's going to do it? Somebody needs to step up and say, okay, how do we make ends meet and make a good arrangement between people? And that goes back again to the human system. I mean, we study structural system, data systems, all kinds of systems at Georgia Tech. And we can also look into human systems. What makes people click? What buttons should I push? What lever should I move in order for it to look natural? You don't want to force people off their ancestral land. It's going to be another movie, no? Probably with a bad ending for some people. You have to make it so that it comes natural and it's a win-win situation as much as possible. Negotiations in business are like that. You have to come to a deal. My ideal is always making a good deal as best as I can. And I love deal making. That's my thing. That's what I do in my company. I look at a piece of property. How are we going to make this fit? Can we do it engineering wise? Is there a big cost on it? Right now, for example, one of the buildings we're designing, I know we have tension on 3 of our foundations that are calling for a huge mat foundation that's costing me an arm and a leg. I know the gist of it, but I really call the structural guy to tell me the technical. But I know he's a good guy and I trust him. I trust him to tell me my best solution to that problem. I get to choose people who are better than me at certain aspects. No? And I say, well, that's one of the keys to success. Surround yourself with people that are smarter than yourself. No? And you'll do quite well. But how do you choose them? How do you know they're going to be a good team player? My main concern has always been nurturing people around me who are better than me and who can take over at a moment's notice. People who can run the show and they know how I think. My favorite word, so one of my associates comes in for consult. They explain to me the problem. This is a situation. And I say, what's your recommendation? He says, well, I would do this, that, and the other. My favorite word is decide. And unless it's going to be a catastrophic decision, I let them decide, because the only way you can learn if you make choices. They say, they were making an interview with this big business person a number of years ago, very successful guy. The reporter asked him, so, sir, what do you think would be the key to your success? Where has all this success come from? And he says, well, making the right decisions. Oh, and how do you come to the right decisions? He says, well, experience. How do you acquire experience? Well, bad decisions. That's how it goes. If you don't make mistakes, you'll never learn. Well, you have to let people off their guardrails sometimes and make hey, Small mistakes, you learn from it, don't repeat it again, no, and off we grow. But it does come to the point where you have to manage people and get them to their full potential. What's the driving force behind? What makes you click in the morning? No? And for me, it's quite simple. I love what I do. I have my dream job right now. I would not think of doing anything else. If I had to, I could. But if I can choose, I choose, being myself. And whatever you guys decide on doing in the future, decisions you make to the left of the road, the right of the road, the only choices I regret are those I did not make. Everything else just balances out in the end. There are no wrong choices. You have to make a choice. That's the only. But anyways, all I'm doing today is, for example, in this presentation, I'm trying to put together a story. Did you guys know that there are master's degrees nowadays in storytelling? Just to how to tell a story and make people connect to what you're telling them. And to remember, that Jasmine thing, when you say Jasmine, yeah, Costa Rica back in 1991. You have to get your point across. You have to make people understand, and you have to be able to read people and say, is this guy paying attention? Or he's like thinking, when is this going to ever end? When you're in a meeting, for example, small things, like I said, you can pick up along the way. These can be taught in courses. You never look at your own watch. You look at the other person's watch, like you're admiring it. You're actually looking for the time. But you don't want to be like this in a meeting, or you're looking at your phone. Basic stuff we're supposed to know. But when you're sitting down with people, you have to be able to read their expressions. Body language is important. All those things are part of the human system. And like I was saying, we're building in our technological background here of logic and reason, we're building this tower. Great tower, fantastic. It's going to go all the way to the sky. But we want to start bridging across. We want to reach other people in other disciplines. We have to be able to understand their language, both spoken and unspoken. And I think that's something that has been quite key for me. I do recommend the Dale Carnegie thing with making friends and influencing people. Mama was right. It does make a difference. It does help you understand the human element of everything. Now, another interesting tidbit that I've picked up, and like I said, it's part of more like a popular culture. In Netflix, there's a couple of series that I have been watching. One of them is How to Become a Dictator. Nobody watched that? You check it out. It's a kind of like a funny documentary that explains the steps that you take to becoming a dictator. You got to get your team right. You got to get the guy from marketing, the muscle, the guy from logistics. Obviously, it's not the kind of thing we aspire to be. We don't want to become a dictator, but it does show certain elements of the psychological drivers behind why people do the things they do. There's another series in Netflix called How to Become a Cult Leader. Once again, never mind the actual people being featured in the film or the documentary, but it does show incredible insight into what makes people follow other people. Obviously, you don't want to lead them down, off a cliff. You want to lead them into the future, into positive things. But it does show you how certain things happen and why. Another very popular, and this is once again, I'm trying to read my room here. I would think that most people here have some fascination with Netflix like I do. There's a good series about this Spotify. You guys know the story behind Spotify? Everybody have Spotify here for the music? If you listen to see the story of how they came about, at the end of the day, it was all about a negotiation of how making the other side sign on the dotted line the rights to music. The engineering side, they had down, how to get the server speed, how to get the download quality down right. But at the end of the day, they had to convince the record industry to sign over the rights to their albums. Or else, basically, the alternative was a free-for-all where everybody lost money. You see this also in labor negotiations, for example. Sometimes when you negotiate a labor union, you do have to find common ground with the other side because you need them. Right now, we have a strike here in the US, the auto workers strike, and it's basically about disruption coming from electric vehicles. What are they going to do with electric vehicle production, battery production, all these things? The huge shifts in technology are going to change labor market. But at the end of the day, we do have to apply what we know about the human system into our other systems, technological systems. Yeah. Why do people like to flip this way when they go on Instagram or something like that? There's a psychological reason behind it. The man-machine interface. I mean, you guys have heard of these before. The best interface is the one that wins. Not necessarily the best software, but the one that's easier to use. That was one of the keys behind Apple. I mean, Steve Jobs, his thing was being a calligrapher originally. Nothing to do with programming. He just hired the right people around him to do the programming for him, and he had a vision of an appealing product, something that people liked. 90% people have iPhones nowadays. It's mostly around the design. No? And people like the design. It's intuitive. It works well. It's psychological. No, it does have that psychological basis. So anyways, I wanted to share with you a little bit of these insights around psychology and why I thought it was so important for me during my tenure here at Tech. And now I would like to do the second part that I promised you. I need everybody to stand up for a minute, please. This is going to be a bit of a different thing, but if there's anything you're going to remind yourselves of this morning, it's this. Okay, first take your left hand, take it up like this. Your other left, okay, your left, right? And we're going to go like this and down. Now the other elbow out and down. Cross your arms in front and down. Cross again and down. And now we're going to push once, twice, 3 times in front, and then clap your hands like this. And you're going to go like this, one side to the other. Right. And that's my presentation for today. Now, see how I did that? I got you to stand up and dance. What else would you like me to do today? You know, I can get you guys to do anything, right? Please have it and thank you very much. I just wanted to share. Yeah, it's kind of a skit, but it's kind of the thing that really remembers. The memory is really going to be driven in there, and I want you guys to remember something out of today. Psychology 1 and psychology 2, it helps. It really does. I would make it mandatory if it were up to me for all engineers. Because we're very good at the logic side. Got that done. No problem with the statistics and with the decision making, rational. But the world out there is not necessarily rational sometimes. You have to convince them to come over to the other side. And for that, you have to work people. At the end of that's the whole thing. How do you make people do what you need them to do voluntarily? Just like you did now, the whole thing like this and like that. And I'm a horrible dancer. I hate it. But I know it's important. It's important for my team. Anyways, I wanted to open up the floor to any question, comments. I have my designated questioner right here. I told him he had to come up with a question to make this fluid.
Out of the first course you thought people know about local energy, what was the best thing you learned that you used at your Tech once you got here?
Well, when I got here, like I said, I had a roommate that was not expecting me. He was thinking he was going to keep the dorm room to himself, and he was really unfriendly. I'm not going to go into details, but let's let it be known that we were not the best buddies. And I had to make friends down the hall. People I did not know whatsoever. A lot of it was intuitive, yes. But you wanted to go to the movies. We went to the Omni. How did we get there? I need a car. Who has a car? So and so has a car. Okay, we got to get him together. Well, we have to go with his girlfriend. Fine. The girlfriend has a friend. She wants to go along. You have to be the wingman. Okay, fine. Like I said, a lot of this is intuitive. It's not like, well, you didn't have to figure that out with a course. Well, how to become more effective at it? No, and I do think it does help. Looking back, if I knew then what I know now, oh, children.
Jose, you were too quick and slick. Yeah, I've got to add a mic here. So so that we get everybody to hear.
What are the 3 most important characteristics of a leader?
Well, I think you have to be trustworthy. People have to trust you in order to go along with what you believe in. You have to be empathic also. You have to take care of your team. You know, you just can't be, okay, leader and everybody falls behind. Heraclitus, 2,500 years ago, had a saying that goes something like this. Out of every 100 soldiers sent into battle, 10 are not even supposed to be there. 80 are just targets. 9 are the true soldiers, the true fighters. And we're thankful for them because they make the battle. And one is the warrior who will bring them all back. And at the end of the day, the leader has to be the one who takes care of all his team. You cannot just be, I'm the leader and everybody's following behind. No. You have to take off. The other 99 people are under your charge. I think of it as my ship. You know, I'm captain of the ship. My crew has to be doing well. You know, if we do well, everybody does well. So empathy is very important, and taking care of your own. And you know, if you have that trustworthiness, you take care of your own people. You do have to be confident in yourself. You have to believe in your own internal psychological analysis. And this is something that also psychology helps you quite with. I mean, obviously you will have moments of doubt. For me, thermodynamics was horrible. That was the worst class ever. I still shudder when I think of it. I passed it by a miracle and the word. You still have the word. That still thing. Anyways, you do have to have that inner insightfulness and to look into yourself and say, okay, where do I need to make adjustments? Who do I need to add to my team, to my own set of skill sets? How do I make adjustments? The best battle plans are never successful upon the first encounter with the enemy. Planning is useful. Yes, you have to be good at planning, but you have to adjust. You have to be able to adapt. Things are not the same as they were 100 years ago, or are they? You know, one of the last board meetings we had at Civil, we went over to the Ponce de Leon market. You guys been over there? You know, that used to be the headquarters, southern headquarters for Sears, Roebuck and Company. Now, their business model was basically having a catalog of items and having them shipped over to you. You could buy a car 100 years ago in the Sears catalog. Novel idea, huh? Guess who did that too? It's Amazon. It's just the catalog is online, but they basically ship stuff out to you just the same. Huge business a few years ago, no, like 30 years ago, was the Yellow Pages. Anybody here remember the Yellow Pages? No, you guys don't need to answer that. The Yellow Pages were like a huge deal. Everybody had to advertise in the Yellow Pages. If you're not in the Yellow Pages, no, it's a phone book. That's what it was. Big old thing like this. Guess where that business is today? Who has a Yellow Page or a phone book? No one. Nobody buys advertisement there. Buy it on Google, which basically is a huge, big ass Yellow Page online. Is it a new idea? Not exactly, but you have to adapt. The technology changes. Nowadays, I don't buy ads in the newspaper. The newspaper back home is about yay thick now, like 4 or 5 pages. I need to advertise on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, get influencers, a bunch of people. So in order to lead, you have to learn to adapt as well. Anyone else? Dr. Georgia Cacas, yes, sir.
First of all, thank you. We are very happy, very proud.
Yes, but I want to ask you about when you deal with people of different cultures, do you change your ways in negotiating and in the psychology? And if so, there must be some elements that you're not changing. So what are these unchanging things that make you successful in dealing with other people, not from your own culture, but from others? Because that's the reality of today. We have to deal with just about everybody in the world. So any wisdom in that sense?
Well, absolutely. Panama is a port city, port country. It was built basically out of necessity to connect Latin America and the rest of the world together. We're a great location, basically. So we have people from all kinds of cultures. It's always been a crossroad. We get, people from Asia, Middle East, US, obviously. Most of my customers nowadays come from Colombia. In the last year, we've had a lot of strife politically in Colombia. But yes, there's major cultural differences. And for example, one of my problems is that I don't drink coffee. I've never gotten into the thing. No, I'm not a coffee drinker. When you go to somebody's office and they offer you a coffee, it's very impolite to deny a coffee, especially from somebody from the Arab culture. For example, we have a lot of people in the free zone in Colón. Also, when you're standing, when you're sitting down, you never cross your feet and show them the sole of your feet. It's an insult. You don't do that. And there's many other things, obviously, that you have to adjust with different cultures. Certain expressions are also offline, and even, these presentations, I've been doing these kinds of presentations for some time now, and I've had to adjust, obviously, to my audience. I mean, things that you could get away with saying maybe 20 years ago are very politically incorrect nowadays. So you have to make adjustments culturally. There are things that are just not acceptable anymore. And so you have to be, up to speed with the times. There are certain crowds of people you can say certain things, especially in terms of age. For my customer base, for example, it's a lot of baby boomers. Your granddaddies, probably, and grandmommies. Certain things culturally are acceptable to them, or may not be acceptable to you guys nowadays. So you have to read the room. You have to be able to understand, okay, am I getting myself into deep water here and just saying the wrong thing? Yes, it can ruin a relationship very quickly. But that also, that connectivity also allows you to adjust. Once again, adjust your body language, your postures, if you're dealing with somebody from the Asian culture. And it's quite interesting. Do you know, in Japan, for example, when they say somebody is of a strong character, it's totally different than what we understand to be a strong character here. There was a man being yelled at in front of a train station in Japan, in Tokyo. Somebody was berating him over whatever, and he was just standing there going like this, listening to the person complaining about something. And the person was really going off on him. And it was explained to me that that man is considered of strong character. Why? Because he controls his emotions, and he can take this verbal abuse that this person was inferring, perhaps unjustly. In other cultures, a person of strong character is the one screaming. Oh, yes, strong character, he's just screaming off and going off. That's actually considered a weak character. Why? Because your emotions control you. You do not control your emotions. So those differences are actually quite helpful when you understand this. And I've told this to my son. He was going to, just put a fist in the middle of his brother's face the other day. He was really going at it. And I said, if you're really of strong character, you have to control your emotions. If somebody tells you something offensive during a negotiation 2 weeks ago, guy comes over with a proposal, and I look at it, and I think, what the? But I'm thinking of it. I'm not showing my face. I'm like, well, this is unfortunate. I don't think we can come to an arrangement. And I told him, in the Arab culture, a proposal like this would be met with an answer such as this: Insa. He says, oh, that's such a pretty word. What does it mean? It means bad. That's just for you to know. No. Anyway, I said, yeah, word of the week. Use it in a full phrase, you get a prize. No, never mind. It's actually quite offensive. Don't use that. Anyways, you have to make adjustments like that with different. Bless you. Anyway, what else can I help you guys with this morning?
I think we have
Please.
time for one more, maybe two questions. Right?
Hi, so I was wondering, you said that you obviously graduated with civil engineering from Georgia Tech and you do real estate development in Panama.
Yes.
How this might be a loaded question, but how specifically did you kind of get into that coming from civil engineering Georgia Tech?
Well, when I was a kid growing up, all my toys were construction equipment, construction gear, hammers, no saws, fortunately, but still have all my fingers. My father is a civil engineer. All my uncles were civil engineers. We had the one architect. Nobody really cared for him. So I guess it was kind of peer pressure, a bit of peer pressure, yeah. My family business has always. My dad started a company, mom and pop company, in the garage of the house with my mom. Very important, the mom. You've heard the story, mom, very prominent. Anyway, the thing was, real estate has always caught my eye. It's a neat business, it's about the welfare of people, it's housing solutions, apartment buildings. Your work stand the test of time. I like, hey, yeah, we built that back in 95 or 90, and it's there, it hasn't fallen down. I had a situation, must have been 10 years ago. We were doing a project in front of the water in Costa del Este. And as part of the project, we had to build this huge, basically a huge caisson, a slurry wall with tiebacks. And I was away on a fishing trip. And well, long story short, the vibration from the backup generator that we had set up above the wall, the generator had been there for like 8 months, and the vibration had loosened up the lower tie on one of the retaining elements. And that thing was coming loose. It was raining really hard, and we knew it. I wasn't even in town. I was out of reach, and we knew the wall was going to fail. So we removed all the equipment and just waited for it to fail, and made the 6 o'clock news everywhere. It was a Friday, a slow news day on a Friday. And man, that's just it was spectacular. Quite frankly, it was spectacular. Nobody was hurt, only my ego. And anyway, I wasn't there. One of my team members, one of my associates, he said, we got to put the engineer in front of the camera. That guy was certainly not camera ready. No skills whatsoever. And my right hand man, which actually a girl, Alejandra, said, we cannot put this guy in front of the TV. So-and-so, you're going to be the engineer for now. Put on a hard hat and made an explanation of how the vibration made the thing work, but it's all under control, nothing to see here, nothing to see. I get back and I had a message from Reggie DeRoche from Tech calling. And I said, God, he wants his degree back, man. This is going to be so bad. He called me about something that had no relation to it. But we had to, manage that situation with a camera-ready guy or girl, who can make sure everything stays under control. But that day will live in infamy forever. It's online. You can look it up. I think Jose's greatest hits. Yeah, the wall coming down. Anyways, any other questions? Anyone?
I'd get a big round of applause for.
Thank you.
And Laura here as a token of our gratitude, I guess, to present.
Sorry.
Oh, wow. I didn't get you anything.
You should have. Yeah, we just wanted to present this gift to you kind of as like a token of appreciation. Like, thank you for coming. Personally, I really enjoyed and took a lot into what you said. Like, I'm a first year, so right now engineering to me is just kind of, just mathematical equations, nothing else. But there's so much more to engineering. You need to have people skills. You need to connect with people in order to get your idea across. Because like you said, if you can't pitch your idea, you're not going to get anywhere. So.
Oh, wow. Got a drum roll, please. Okay. Super nice. How's that? Like I said, guys, I have peaked professionally right here, right now. It's not going to get any better for me. It's all downhill.